Boker Tov, everyone. Rabbi Eric Solomon here. More morning Torah. Awesome parsha. Lech lecha me'artzecha. God calls out to Avram, at that point not yet Abraham, but Avram, and says, Lech lecha, go out from your land. Go leave your place, your father's house, your homeland, to the land that I will show you. In one of those famous lines in the whole Torah. It's so awesome. And that phrase, Lech lecha. Lech means to go, but lecha means to you or for you. And the rabbis go bonkers, Meshuggah, for this phrase, lech lecha. What does it mean, go for you? It should just say go or leave. God calls out to Avram. And lecha, that extra word there, what is the reason? Rashi comments, you go for your benefit, for your goodness, like for you, for your benefit, to help you, for your advantage, you might say, for your betterment. And I want to talk about that. You know, the idea of go, Avram, for you, go out, the Torah says, and then leave the place. It gives three different descriptors. Go out and leave what's hard, your father's house, your homeland, your place, to go to somewhere new. I mean, Abraham really is the embodiment of an immigrant. And what it means to leave your place, both physically and spiritually, and to go somewhere new. A land that you'll be shown that you don't fully understand or know, or what it's going to be like, or whether you'll be successful. Because, you know, essentially there's a promise of something better. Is incredibly courageous. And Abraham has to go lecha, he has to go for himself, because he has to desire to want to go there. He sees there's benefit to follow what God's command is, and he sees there's potential and there's promise. But there's also tremendous risk. And it's extremely difficult to leave where he is. It's difficult for any of us to leave where they are. And Abraham does it anyway. And I really feel like that's the kind of the Torah of this parsha, very simple, is that Abraham is really embodying the immigrant mentality, which is where you're currently at, is for whatever reasons, is not successful economically, or one is persecuted, or one just feels they're not fulfilling their destiny, or able to fulfill their vision for what they want for themselves, or for the next generation. And that's why people leave. And in our country, sadly, we're often backwards with the attacking of immigrants and people who leave where they come from. You know, we hear an accent or someone dressing differently from a different culture, and there's a tendency to feel like, oh, that's the other, or that's a person who doesn't know America or know. To be an immigrant is to be a person of courage, to have an accent, to learn English with an accent. We should look at as a person who's been brave because they've been willing to do what Abraham did and leave what they knew for the sake of something greater. I learned this recently. Some of you know I enjoy tennis, and I play tennis at a local park here. And there's a gentleman I play with regularly who, in between playing, we sat down and just schmoozed a bit. Speaks with a very relatively thick accent. He's probably in his 50s. And just very briefly told me a story that he was a Vietnamese boat child. Some of you here will know those stories. His father served with the American Army in the Vietnam War. Put aside the politics of the Vietnam War. He served with the American, and he supported the South Vietnamese against North Vietnam. And when everything finished, and the Americans, we left, his family was in great threat for their lives, and they ended up going on small boats. He described like a dinghy out in the water. He said it was like 30, 40 people on a boat that was some like 15 feet long and 6 feet wide. He was with his mother, his other brothers. He saw people fall off the boat. He said for 5 days on this boat with no significant water or food. Think about bathrooms, children, babies. Lech lecha. He said when he eventually got to America, all of him, his family, all of them have started businesses. They have learned they barely knew any English, except his father did, but everyone else, the kids and that, they learned English. They wanted it in their bellies. They love the United States. He is so proud to be an American citizen. And he gave so much for this country. But when some would look at him and say, oh, he has an accent, you know, he looks slightly different than quote unquote, exactly, whatever you want to say, different, he's part of the AAPI community. These are Americans at their best. Immigrants, this is what's so ironic and terrible. They have the hunger in their belly. He wants to succeed. He's worked extremely hard. He got degrees. He's worked to get through college. He worked nights and shifts working in very menial, difficult labor. Come back. My point simply is that when Abraham is told to go, it sounds great and flat, to say, oh, well, he just let God, if God spoke to you and told you, Lech lecha, to a plan that I will show you, well, the sand and the stars, your progeny will be like the sky, and everyone would do it. Everyone wouldn't do it. Many people stay where they are. What's the power of Abraham, Lech lecha, and the power of any immigrant is their willingness to give everything up for the sake of a dream, to leave what they know for the unknown, and to have something in their belly that drives them. It's courageous. It's brave. Back from Abraham and Sarah, and still to this day. So when we engage immigrants today, I invite us to have the kavanah. Look at that person, not as someone who has an accent, maybe different or different. Look at them as an example of Abraham, because that's what Abraham did. And ask yourself, would you be willing to leave where you are here, leave your homeland, your etc., place of your father's house, to go to a land that I will show you? Many would not be willing to do that. Many people in America aren't willing to leave their hometowns just to go to the city to explore a new opportunity. Immigrants are worthy of unbelievable praise. Immigrants are not only what built America, immigrants are often the ones, the CEO of the highest companies in America, because they've taken that risk. They understand that courageous risk, and they have faith. And they do it not only for themselves, lecha, but they do it for the next generation as well. That's worth of all of our admiration. Lech lecha to all of us. May we all have the inspiration to move, however we want to move, out of our comfort zone into the promise that is greater with God's help. Tov, Shabbat Shalom.